I love seeing people who are non-Asian also get involved with this as well. And I kind of want to hear from each and every one of you guys. We can start with Jess. I mean, not, Miss J.R. Fox. I mean, we can start with you.
Mhm.
With how did you get involved in not just They Can't Burn Us All, but with activism in general? How did that start with you? How did you eventually get involved with this organization?
Um, just for activism, just in general, it was just time for me to take a stand. You know, I've always seen these protest movements online or on the news, and I just said, you know, it's now for me to do something. I have something to say. I have a military background, so I believe in selfless service as well. And so it started this journey of where I was seeking out like-minded individuals like myself. And when COVID hit, you know, it made everyone kind of stay indoors and get online more. And so that's how this, you know, all these things got connected. I initially saw China Mac on a live with another gentleman that lives in New York. His name is, he goes by the handle of My Son General. And he and Mac were talking about the Black community and the Asian community and the, you know, the tension there, especially, you know, with Asian run businesses in Black neighborhoods. You know, that's the type of conversation they were having. And the things that China Mac were saying, I said, okay, you sound like something, you're saying things that I align with. So let me check you out. What's good? So I just started to follow China Mac. And one thing I do appreciate that he does is that he's really for the people. And one
He
of the
really
ways
is.
one of the ways that he does that is he brings people on his lives, like anybody. He does not filter anyone. So I
That's
have been
so
able
true.
to, right,
His lives are
right.
very
So
entertaining too.
yes, like, you know, the Mac Eats, or he was like the Shut the Fuck Up, you know, series and things like that. And so there was a couple of times where he was making like, you know, like real talk type conversations. And I was able to get on those lives, and you know, he and I just really like chopped it up. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Okay.
now. We good.
Yeah.
We in
Sorry,
business.
I'm looking at the bars on here, so I do apologize about that. We are like driving through burnt grassland in California right now.
Oh, no worries.
But
You're hustling. You're hustling. You're doing your thing. Do
yeah,
you?
yeah. But so because of me being able to get on those lives, he was just like, you know what, everybody that's following the They Can't Burn Us All, like when he started it, because of the 89-year-old grandma, we started following that page, and we were in the live again. He said, you know what, everybody that's in this live right now, form a group, we about to get it popping. And so this is how we're here. It was just so random, and that's how
Wow.
much he is for the people. He didn't vet anybody. He was like, you know what, you're here, you're supporting
Mhm.
me, you all have been here. You know, he kind of knew my Instagram handle by that time. So he's like, you know what, start a group and let's just get it going. And I feel very good
Mm.
about that. So because it's time for us to take a stand. It's time for us as in, you know, the current generation to say enough is enough. You know, we're picking up the mantle that our forefathers left for us. So I feel real good about this organization, and I'm happy to be here.
Word. That's crazy. That's crazy that it all came from the live for you. Did it also happen the same thing with you too, Ryder? Did you also find out from this from the live?
It's funny you say that, because in a way it was through a live, but not directly through China Mac. So to be honest with you, I didn't know who China Mac was before this. I, you know, I'm into hip hop and I love hip hop music, but I didn't know him as an artist. So it started because I was actually on Ken Star's live. I don't know if
Oh,
you guys
gotcha.
know who he is. He's the Goodnight Ma guy. He's a comedian. So I was on his live, and one of the organizers that you guys are affiliated with China Mac, or that we are affiliated with. I'm not going to speak her name because she's not here, but she told me she was going to a protest, and through that live, she saw me on the live, she went to my feed, and she saw that I was an active protester, and she put me on to China Mac's protest in I believe it was Chinatown at the time, and for that protest. And it wasn't a rally, it was a protest. So I said, sure, I'll go. And when I went to that protest, because I've been an active protester and an advocate for a long time, since before this pandemic, I was actually not happy with his protest. I was I
Interesting.
was, yeah, I was a little disappointed, and but I was trying to help in the process. At the end, because China Mac, he's just for the people, and he wants to have as many people to come together as possible. He's free to have anyone come along, but you know, there's tactics and there's ways to handle certain situations, especially with protests.
Oh, for
So
sure.
China Mac, at the end of the process, he got all these people coming up to talk, you know, in front of precinct 69 in
Yeah.
Chinatown. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, anyone who wants to come up. And it was, it went real bad. It went bad because certain people who had good intentions were letting the negative side overpower his message.
Mm.
And the other protesters were getting upset about it. He didn't have the commissioner come up and speak. We had the chief of police behind them, and I was telling him, you got to bring them to, you know, put them on spot, bring them to the front,
Mm.
ask them questions, ask them what's going on with the case for the 89-year-old woman that's not deemed as a hate crime. Put them on the spot. When you put them on the spot, they don't got no choice but to answer those questions. So he didn't do any of that. So I'm talking to my girl that's associated with him afterwards. I was like, yo, I can't leave this at this. So I went up to him, I told him this, and I was like, yo, you got to try to get this guy up there. You got to do this. You can't do it this way, because it's going to have a negative taste in people's mouth after the fact. Even some of the medics were going a little crazy and getting hostile. I pulled them to the side, and I had to take care of that situation. But even with all of that, I'm talking to China Mac and Will afterwards, and I could just alone in their faces, I can see the passion. I can see the genuine heart with the people. And they were like flustered when I was bringing this stuff up. I'm like, bro, you got to do it like this and like this. And they were flustered. They were like, oh my God, I didn't think of that. So afterwards, I told my girl, I was like, hey, you know what? If you got anything going on, if it needs help, let me know. Because if this is supposed to be helping all people, Asians and the minority community, and we're going to have continuous, I'm going to say fuck ups like this, I want to try to help so that that doesn't happen ahead of time. And that's how that went down. And I've been connected ever since and trying to help in any way. I've been an advocate for racial injustice and equality for 15 years, since I was a kid myself. And any kind of organization I've come across, I try to help awareness. I've talked to youth. I've gone and I spoke to youth, not just in our poverty neighborhoods, but especially in the suburbs. And that's always been my goal, to try to inform and educate in the most uncomfortable scenarios that there is. So that's how I
Honestly,
got
that's
involved.
important.
Yeah, that's how I got involved in advocacy. I had to deal with racial issues in the suburbs, because I grew up in poverty for most of my life, and then when I became a teenager, I was thrown in the suburbs. When I was there is when I really noticed how bad racism was, because I was getting racism from classmates, but even worse, I was getting it from teachers and staff and the classmates' parents. And for a child, you can't register how that's happening. So
Oh, for
ever since
sure.
then, it kind of made me grow up a little faster, and I was like, yo, I got to do something. This ain't right. So that's how I got into advocacy, period. But then that's how I got connected with China Mac and They Can't Burn Us All movement. I've been part of other protests and other movements, and I've stopped messing with them because their message was deterred and went a whole separate way that you could kind of see it was for self-interest reasons. And once I see that, I'm out. I cut ties. There's no explanation. If you're already on the move on a certain path, anything I say is not going to get through to you. So I
For
go
sure.
where the most positive energy is from the jump, not after the fact. And I've noticed that with China Mac, has been from the jump. It hasn't been because this person said this and that, whatever. His intentions are pure, and that's what I'm a part of. And that's how I'm here.
I do want to hear from Arlene as well, as how you got involved with the whole movement in general. Once again, I'm always curious about all that.
Okay. Hi, my name is Arlene, and I have been a silent organizer for many different movements. since the youth time, you know, since I was little, because, you know, in my family growing up, I have always wanted to get behind the story on everything that I was curious of. So I feel like this is like a moment for all of us that are very much alike to do the same. And you know, I'm glad that I made the friendships that I made since joining this movement. How I got into this movement was that, like everyone else, you know, I know China Mac as an artist. I know China Mac as a rapper. You know, I know China Mac as a man of his word. I know China Mac as someone that's been, you know, just in the public eye for so many years because people just like to talk about him. And I've had conversations with friends about him a few years ago, and I'm just like, okay, you know, like I usually want to see things for myself, as Jesse mentioned before. Um, so I feel like it was kind of like the stars aligning for me because I don't know, whatever. But it's just like when I went to China Mac's page and he mentioned the case of the 89-year-old grandma in Bensonhurst who was, you know, attacked and then set on fire. You know, thankfully nothing worse happened. She got in control of the situation. However, it is a hate crime. And a lot of people refuse to call it a hate crime. And I saw it with my own eyes. I saw everything that happened, you know, like everybody else. And the fact that China Mac just sat there and he publicly expressed his opinion on that case alone um, just makes it very relatable to everyone that supports him, especially all the choppies. But there was an actor, I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not going to give him light. He commented on one of these videos and I basically called him out on it. I was like, listen, I don't see you doing rallies. I don't see you on the front lines protesting against hate crimes towards Asian Americans or hate crimes towards other people of color. And I unfollowed that actor after I commented this because, like, when I say things, you know, the way that I say them, I'm going to be a woman of my word, and just if I gotta cut somebody off, I'm gonna cut somebody off immediately. So I actually was in the second rally in Washington Square Park around last month, and I heard from you. You were speaking to a couple of people about, you know, why your skin is so golden and you're outspoken. I
Thank you
met
for listening.
with others who I didn't even know that I met at that rally, but I was one of the street marshals. I kind of felt really weirded out how there was not that many Black women out in the front lines, just defending the crowds and making sure everything's okay. So I took it upon myself. I feel like, you know, God chose me to just be like, you know what, just walk in there. Just walk in there. You don't got to raise your hand, just walk in there. And that's what I did. And thankfully that rally ended up being pretty, it ended up pretty, you know, pretty good. And
it was a good turnout.
everybody
And thank you for volunteering to
everybody
be a
felt
street
so
marshal.
proud, yo. Everybody felt so proud. But, you know, with the recent smear campaigns going across, you know, about this movement, I took it upon myself again to defend people that are behind the scenes and on the team, defending, you know, Will and China Mac, because I've met them in person. You know, I've spent a couple of moments with them in person, and the fact that, you know, certain people and politicians want to act perfect and squeaky clean and holier than thou, and they just want to point fingers. When you point a finger at somebody, just know that there is 3 more fingers pointing back at you. So you can't really say nothing about who is not doing nothing or what somebody's past is, because at the end of the day, if you see from the bigger picture, China Mac and Will might be the face of the movement, but it is women like us who are
Yes.
Black and Indigenous women of color who come from all different, communities, and we identify as many other things. It is women like us who guide them in order to make this statement heard, to make
100%.
to make everyone heard, and just to make sure that people know that they really can't burn us all.